Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Paige, here once again with another video on The Flash. That's right, you've guessed it, Season 6. But yeah, we're in the midst of quite the hiatus or break for The Flash that if you take out the Crisis on Infinite Earths, parts or episodes, will come to about 2 months roughly with no, actually I think it's more than 2 months, with no solo or sole Flash episode where we're just focused on, those characters from the show. Which is crazy, and as I've said before, in other videos, like that break lines up to almost half of the break between seasons. Like those breaks are about 4.5 months. So having a 2-month mid-season break is pretty insane. And this has of course led people to ask about like promotional material and like trailers and stuff like that. And I'm sure we will get some stuff. Like that's obvious. They're not going to just bring out the show without any promotional material telling you guys like, hey, this is when the show's coming out. Please watch. But whether we get anything about those episodes that that we'll get when the Flash is back, we might not get anything for those outside of like a promo image or two and maybe some information until after Crisis is finished airing. And I mean, we're only about 3 weeks away, I think, from Crisis coming back and wrapping up. But they wouldn't want to reveal too much about the state of the Arrowverse and what it's like after Crisis until, well, after Crisis is done airing. Like honestly, the Arrow spin-off pilot episode thing is the one episode I could see getting some decent promo material, and that's about it. But I'm sure we'll find out in the next couple of weeks whether they throw us a bone or we're just going to get some Crisis stuff. But who knows? But in this video, we are going to focus on the big bad topic for the Flash and its back half, as it is probably the thing people are talking about the most outside of anything Crisis related. And yes, you don't have to tell me, I know the talk about Apartment 4 has come up again, but there isn't really anything new or any new information in regards to that to go over. It is really just people going over the same old stuff. But you never know, maybe we can revisit that in the near future and talk about that, but that's a watch this space type of thing. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know all of your various opinions and comments and thoughts in the comments about what we go over. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support and excitement for what's to come. But yeah, the first thing I want to touch on when it comes to the big bads is the Godspeed stuff. So Godspeed really, since episode 1 for obvious reasons, has been a massive talking point amongst the fans, whether it be for positive reasons or negative reasons, or just, people in the grey area just unsure as to what the hell is going on with this character. So obviously we were first introduced to Godspeed last season in the episode that was fittingly titled, well, Godspeed, which is when it was the full, it wasn't the full future episode because we cut back to present day, but it was mostly in the future, and it was almost like just going through Nora's origin, how she got her speed and stuff, and basically her first like little villain, I won't say little, but her first encounter with a villain was that of Godspeed, a future speedster who was, using artificial speed and trying to perfect it so his speed was pure and he wasn't stuck in like a Zoom type situation where he was slowly dying from using like a velocity formula. But obviously in that episode, Godspeed is defeated, he's locked away, it was August Hart and everything like that. Obviously people were very unhappy with how that was dealt with. I think it was more just the fact that they had to get through it in one episode. I think you just see that sometimes. I'm not just saying specifically in The Flash, because I don't think you actually see it too much on The Flash. But at least on like a lot of these, like, where there's a villain, you got to take him down. Sometimes they'll just rush the takedown of this villain or threat just to get through it, especially if they just, if it's not a main threat for the entire season. So they just got through it, and I know people were upset about it. I thought it was a bit lame, even though I'm not the biggest Godspeed fan. I didn't really care too much what happened here. But I know people were very upset about it. But when that all happened, the big question was like, well, are we going to see Godspeed again? And the big thing that sort of prevented that being a likely thing to happen was the fact that he was from the future. He was from 20 plus years in the future. It would be hard to incorporate him into like present day storylines unless we go to the future or he finds a specific reason to come back to the past. Like that was always the big issue there as to how they were going to figure out how to use him. But obviously when we get into episode 1 of this season, we see the Flash in action for the first time in this season, taking down Godspeed. We find out this is actually a clone, and there's been like multiple versions of this Godspeed before. I don't know if they all seem to have a different face. I don't think that was specifically said in that episode, but we know that that is not the face of August Hart. So this is some weird stuff going on. And as soon as that happened, people were like, okay, what are you going to explain that or anything? Or are you just going to be left on this big, like, what the hell question mark? Because that was confusing as hell and didn't really hint at anything at that point in time. Obviously, we'll refer to some stuff in a second that sort of might relate back to that. But at that point in time, we're like, what the hell is this? Like, what are we doing here? Now, as I was saying, at that point in time, we were confused, and this all just led people to come up with theories. Like, one of my thoughts was that it could be connected to Crisis in some way. That was the only one I really came up with that I thought could actually happen, where it could be like, maybe these are like embodiments of shadow demons or something, which isn't the case. But no one really had thought up a proper theory. But then Black Hole came into the thing, this mysterious organization that was brought up in episode 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that. Not by name, just the mysterious organization, which is still not being named as Black Hole yet, but that will happen in the back half. But it seems that they might be connected to this Godspeed thing because they are in the present day. It seems that these are just new versions of a clone being brought up because they seem to be getting faster every single time, but they're putting these versions in Iron Heights. They're not just releasing them back into the wild like a fish or something like that, back into the ocean or back into the lake. They're getting locked up. So these are new ones being created, but they are faster every single time. So there's someone out there trying to perfect this with these like Godspeed type of clones. So I think if you're going to make a prediction, or at least some sort of, or if you want to hold some sort of hope that Godspeed is going to come back to the show, those seem like big seeds being planted. Like just the fact that, there's all these various versions and they are getting faster. It seems like someone's created them and testing them. The big issue is that we haven't seen any since that point, and it seemed like they were popping up like every now and then, but we haven't seen it for ages now. Maybe that might mean that the person that's doing this is working on something else, but if they are going to do anything with this, you'd have to think it's connected to Black Hole, and they're the only ones that could be connected to it. So hold hope if you're a Godspeed fan, because I think that might be what happens there. And also, they made a pretty dope ass suit, and I think they'd be wasting it if they didn't use it more. So I don't know, there's some Black Hole stuff that could be connected to that. But obviously we know there are other threats coming in this season, so we know that Mirror Master, or like a female version of Mirror Master, is going to be in the back half, like appearing fairly early, like around episode 11 or 12, I'm assuming, based off when the casting announcement came out. So it's Evan McCulloch in the comic. It is Evan McCulloch, and he's the other version of Mirror Master. In the Arrowverse lore, the Earth 2 Mirror Master was Evan McCulloch, but I think he died. I think that's what Harry Wells might have said, I'm not too sure, can't remember. But they haven't specifically or clearly said that she's a villain. It's just that she's in charge of McCulloch Technologies or McCulloch Industries, whatever it was, which is where they got that mirror gun from last season to use on Cicada's dagger. So that's the connection there. But it seems that maybe she's tied to Black Hole in, whether it's a willing way or an unwilling way, or maybe her technology is tied to Black Hole and they're using it to maybe create other sort of weapons or using it for various projects. So I don't think she's going to be a straight up villain, but she might be an untrusting person maybe. Maybe they have some suspicions about her. I'm not too sure what they're going to do with her. It's a very random casting, but obviously I don't think they'd introduce a character like that unless there's a purpose. So yeah, obviously Negative Flash is an option to keep in mind with Black Hole. That's tied to Black Hole in the comics as well. We obviously had Barry go Dark Flash, which is obviously a take on the Negative Flash, but maybe they could do something where maybe a bit of Barry's blood or some sort of blood got intertwined with something and it allowed someone else to become Negative Flash, or Black Hole got their hands on something related to that, and then they can use it and maybe do something along those lines and create a Negative Flash, something along those lines. I think if they're going to do Negative Flash, you'll know it fairly early on, because you think they'd have to bring in someone that's going to become Negative Flash, whether that be Mana Darwan or another character in general. But when like the whole Black Hole thing came up, I think a lot of people that had read the comics jumped to Negative Flash. But I don't know, if they don't do anything with it early in the first couple of episodes, you think they won't do it at all. So maybe they won't do Negative Flash, and that's maybe why they did the stuff with Barry this season, with the Bloodworks stuff, but I don't know. Red Death, obviously, I think they're going to save Red Death. If they're going to do Red Death, I think they'll do, a proper thing, where it's just him. There's no like side villains or anything like that, and they could do something really cool with that. I know a lot of people want to see Red Death, don't get me wrong, I want to see it as well, but it's going to be hard to incorporate him into this season. They could, don't get me wrong, but I think it could be very, very difficult to do that. But you can, if you really want him, you can hold out hope. Now, one weird one I saw people talking about was actually Tornado Twins, which I don't think would happen at all, but I saw people saying, like, I know there's that thing in the comics where they're like the evil and they're like that weird future. I don't think they do Tornado Twins. And I saw it wasn't just like one person. There's a decent amount of people talking about it. I don't think it's a possibility. But you never know. They might pull something out of their ass and they go, hey, look, you're wrong. You're wrong, Paigey. Again, you're always wrong. Here you go. Here's Tornado Twins. You doubted it. Here it is. But I'd be shocked if I saw that, because I just think it'd be a bit silly. But the last one, even though it sounds a bit, average, I guess, compared to the other stuff. Maybe it sounds better than Mirror Master, but the other one that sounds a bit average, but is still very likely, as well as based off, like, especially when you base it off stuff we've seen, and that's that there could be like this other version of the rogues, or like a group of metas created by Black Hole, and that is the villain for the season. There was a quote from Eric Wallace where he does specifically say big bads, which either refers to Black Hole being the big bad, because it's an organization, so you refer to it as a plural, or it is a group of villains like a rogue sort of thing, or like a group of metas taken over by Black Hole. That's a big possibility because we already had Ultraviolet there. We know they're working on metas and taking them away and stuff like that, turning them into like assassins. So that could be the case there. If they're going to do that, I think they have to do something very cool. They have to create some very cool metas. Maybe that's where maybe there's a dodgy speedster, like an evil speedster in that bunch. That is the negative Flash. But that's a big possibility there. If I had to pick two different potential villains, I would say that, the rogue meta thing group created by Black Hole, or Godspeed, just because they planted the seeds with Godspeed, but they've also planted the seeds with this group of metas, while everything else there hasn't really been planted outside of maybe Negative Flash, but that, as I said, that could be incorporated into that group of metas created by Black Hole. I'm intrigued to see what they've done, because I think that what they do, because in the first half, I think they did a pretty good job with the Bloodwork stuff, maybe out of not including him in maybe 1 or 2 episodes. I hold out hope for Eric Wallace, because I think, regardless of what they do, I think it should still be fairly solid. But it just matters, the people that want like a really action-based back half. So you have to choose a good villain that would provide that and just really cool moments. But I have faith they'll pull it off. But if I had to make 2 predictions in regards to, who the villain could be, I would say it's either that group created by Black Hole or Godspeed. But I don't know if you'll agree with me on that one. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it. It shows support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we went over. Who do you think the villain will be for the back half? Do you think it's Godspeed? Do you think it's that group of metas? Or do you think it's one of the other ones I mentioned? Or is it someone completely different? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.